Yeah, so continuing with that, so suppose you have updated HDFC to ICICI, so now the old value will be, suppose now now when you try to delete, so the old value will be ICICI, okay, and in the new there will be no values in the delete, okay. So this is what you should keep in mind, and the best way to do it is to print the values into, you can do a system.debug and print the values of a trigger into a the debug log and check it out. Now look here over here. Now this is typically like I would suggest that you people should try to do a system.debug and just a second, try to print this for each and everything. For trigger.is before, is update, these are your context variables. Is before, is update, is after, is insert. For all these combinations, I encourage you to go ahead and try to print the values. System.debug trigger.old and trigger.old map, see the values. And to test it, what you have to do, you have to make some changes to the record. You have to create some record, update some record, try to delete some records, then only these events will fire, correct? So please keep this all in mind. And for this interview session, what I suggest you to strongly, those who are not worked in depth, those who have worked in depth, they know what I'm talking about. But those who are not worked in depth, I would suggest that you go ahead and print these values, test it out. Okay. So now coming back to the same thing. So now once again, let's do a quick, interview may ask you in the trigger.new and old list, which scenarios it will be aware. So these are the scenarios in the before insert, old list will be empty because no records have been inserted, but new list contains the records being inserted. Similarly, in the insert or old list remains empty, new list is populated. In the case of update, before update, after update, both old list and new list both are populated. In the case of delete, the old list will contain the record being deleted, and in the case of after delete, the old list will still contain the record being deleted. Okay. So this is the combination. You should try to remember this for the interview by practicing this and actually seeing some examples. So automatically you don't need to by heart this. You have to practice this to see what is the value. You have to understand the logic behind this. Okay. So similar for the trigger.new map and old map, the same combination for before and after insert. The old map is empty. For update, before and after, the old both will be having the respective value. Old map will contain old values, new map will contain the new values. And delete again is the same thing. Before delete and before after, the old map will be there, new map will not be there, values will not be there. Now how do you structure a trigger, how do you create a trigger? So first, every trigger is associated with an S object, okay, and you have to pass all the trigger events over here. Now see, if you miss any passing any event, then that trigger event won't be handled. Now this is how you write a trigger. You say trigger.name on object, on the particular object account, and you have to pass all the events that you want to handle. Please note this important part. If you don't pass before insert, before update, and you pass only before update and don't pass before insert and don't pass after insert and try to write trigger for that, it will not work. You have to handle pass all the events to this trigger, okay, that you want to handle. So typically what will happen is you will have a before and after section to handle the actions. So here we have an example. In the trigger.before, you will have a section for trigger.isDelete, trigger.insert. So you can handle all the delete logics over here. And here in the trigger.insert, you can handle all the before insert logics. Update, delete. Now what can you do in the before trigger? So typically what you can do is you can validate values, you can pre-default and prevent DML actions. This is very, very important. This last part, you can use something called as add error method and prevent the action from happening. So here is an example. If you have if you want to prevent a delete from happening, what you do is you say trigger.isBefore and trigger.isDelete, and in that you see here for, so now this trigger.old. What is this trigger.old? It contains the records that are going to be deleted. So you have to loop it. You are using the optimized loop, say account A colon trigger.old, right? So it loops through each and every record that's getting deleted, and if there is some condition, you say that that value is not to be deleted, you can use this method add error. You cannot delete this record. So what will happen is when you try to delete that record, this error will come up on the screen or it will be logged, okay? So you cannot delete that record. Now similarly for trigger, if in before insert, you have to loop through the trigger.new, and what you do is if a particular name is there, you can also stop that insert from happening by saying add error. Now here, in addition to the account object, here I am also giving a field. So this error will come in the field. It will show near the field.